So what are the chances that the Indiana Pacers make more noise in the Eastern Conference than we believe they will this season? Well, for one, we have to remember that no one expected them to do anything last year before Victor Oladipo became one of the 20 best players in the NBA. Is there a chance that he makes another jump and becomes the 8th best player in the league? I mean, maybe. The dude's always had a reputation for being super hard-working, and he got himself in great shape last summer, so perhaps he'll get himself in even better shape for this upcoming season. Maybe his jump shot will be even a little better. Maybe he'll be one of the 5 best perimeter defenders in the league. I mean, you could argue that he already was that last season, but I think that's the first thing we got to think about is maybe Oladipo can make another jump. I think the second thing you look at, and I don't want to take too long on this because this is what I always say with Miles Turner, if Miles Turner will shoot more three-pointers and just be a little more valuable offensively, that would be huge. I saw this offseason that he was working on his pull-up three-pointer, which I don't know if that's totally necessary when you're a center, but the idea that he's working on his threes in general is a good sign, so that's good. And hell, you could say that, if he's going to be a big-time rebounder, he can take it up floor himself, and if the opposing big man's backing off, then, well, there you go. There's some pull-up threes for you, so there's that. The post-up game can always get a little better for Miles Turner. That's about all I want to talk about with him, because at this point, it's just pretty much a waiting game to see what his ceiling is offensively. When we get to the rest of the team outside of those two, I think you see a lot of versatile options that this team has. For one, the acquisition of Tyreke Evans, who they signed this offseason, I think it's a little bit of a risk because Tyreke throughout his career, well, sometimes over-dribbling, turnover-prone, takes some bad shots here and there, not that good of an outside shooter, but he was decent last year. Well, more than decent. He was very good. He shot 40% on 5.5 attempts a game. If he can do that again, then he's officially one of the best shooters in the NBA. So I don't know if that's going to happen. He didn't do it for an entire year last season, but even so, could be a noticeable improvement. His free throws also got a bit better at 79%. So there is a chance that Tyreke is just flat out a better shooter, and I think that will, of course, make him a more valuable off-ball player, because I think you could have left him open before this. Also, if he's going to take some threes that are kind of questionable, but they're now just going to go in, then that's huge as well. And when you combine that with the amount of ball handlers this team has, like Oladipo can go off the dribble, Darren Collison and Corey Joseph are still pretty okay, even if you're not going to ask them to run your offense too much, then I think that can create some dynamic stuff that Nate McMillan can run. And while I don't think Nate McMillan is really one of the better coaches in the league, even if this Pacer team surprised everyone last season, I don't think he's one of the worst either. So that's an accomplishment, right? This team ran some stuff last season. It wasn't just give the ball to Oladipo and hope something good happens, although that was still a decent amount of it. But still, I'm okay with McMillan running the show here, I guess. Now, the versatility that this team has, I think, well, actually, it extends to the front court and all that, but I want to stay on the backcourt for a little bit longer. You could see lineups where they have 3 ball handlers in the game, where you could go Darren Collison, Victor Oladipo, Tyreke Evans. So that could just get you a lot of offense in there. But you could also see times where Bogdanovich or Doug McDermott are playing one of the wing spots for more of a spot-up sort of thing. So I don't know what lineup is going to end up working, but there's definitely a lot of options. So whether maybe Oladipo and Tyreke together will end up being really good, I guess that one would probably have the highest ceiling. Maybe Tyreke will end up being better when Oladipo's not in the game and he can give them more of a second source of offense. There's that. I don't know. We're just going to have to find out. Now, if we move on to the front court positions, there are some small ball 4 options. I mean, Thad Young is still going to be the full-time 4. I do like Thad Young. He may not be totally what you want out of a 4, mainly just because he's not the best shooter, but he's a good athlete. He moves around well defensively. and he's a veteran who just knows what to do, right? So he's still like a positive player, even if sometimes he can cause some spacing issues here and there. But besides him at the 4, you've got maybe Doug McDermott. I'm not going to hold out on that one, but I guess you could try it out sometimes. You've got Bogdanovich, where I would have a little bit more comfort with playing him at the 4. Now, he didn't play much 4 last season for these guys, but I don't know. Maybe Nate McMillan would be down for that sort of thing. So then, I mean, you just put all that together. You could have a lot of interesting lineups, you know? You could have multiple ball handlers, multiple shooters. You could even try some Miles Turner with Sabonis up front if you wanted to get really big and attack the offensive boards and all that. You've also got Kyle O'Quinn, who can fill in for the occasional big man minutes here and there. There's just a lot of stuff that this team can do. If they want to prioritize ball handling, shooting, athleticism, whatever it may be, there's a lot of options. Now, with all that being said, I do think in terms of their rank in the Eastern Conference, for everything that I just went over, it's probably just going to ultimately come down to what is Victor Oladipo's ceiling, what is Miles Turner's ceiling, right? So if we're getting the same Miles Turner, who's still a pretty good player, and someone who I think does a little bit more than the box score shows, mainly from a spacing standpoint, but even so, you'd like to see more, you know? Like, he's a good athlete, his form from mid-range looks beautiful. I've said all these things before. And if he's just still going to put up somewhere between 12 to 16 a game, and Oladipo still has to carry so much of that load offensively, then this team may not be able to overcome that. So, where would I predict that they finish in the East? I mean, I think the 4th seed is fair, and then depending on Miles Turner's improvement, I could see them... I mean, if he really, took, some big leap where he's just knocking down 3-pointers, shooting, 6 a game, and he's just filling up the point totals, then I think the 3 seed would be pretty fair. But we're just going to have to see if that happens. Yeah, I think the 4th seed is probably a goal. Maybe the 3rd seed. I mean, I think the Bucks and the Sixers are competing to be the 3rd best team in the East, because we can't forget, Giannis with a good coach is something we have not really seen. So there's them, Philly again, of course, and then, the Washington Wizards, they exist. We must remember them, I guess, but yeah, I think a goal for the Pacers could be the 4th seed, and then a generous goal could be the 3rd spot.